Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing well. I'm doing great. I'm doing lovely. As always, we're back with another video, back with another topic of discussion. And today will mainly be about failure. And on the topic of failure, even when you fail, you still have to give it your best effort. Whether it's when you're performing, in your personal trainings, giving it your best is always the way to go. Now, why is that important? It's important because irrespective of the circumstances, or irrespective of the fact that you're going to lose or you're failing at something, giving it your best, giving it 100% every time will always leave you in a better position than if you came into it unprepared or if you weren't giving it your everything, right? I think that when you do your best, even when you're losing, you can reduce the deficit. You can make things slightly easier for yourself on the other side. And what I mean by the other side is you'll come back from that failure. You'll sit back from, whatever situation or circumstance you may face. Okay. Now, obviously, there's always issues when it comes to that. It's always easier said than done. So we'll go over some of the issues that are faced with giving your best, right? Because it's not just something that you do in the beginning or at the end. It's something that it's a journey, right? When you're performing, when you're in the midst of doing something, it's harder. It's harder to give it your best when there's all these different factors going on, the atmosphere, the environment. If you're playing a team sports, maybe your team is down, maybe, miscommunication is going about, and it makes it harder. So we'll go over a couple of those things as we go. So the number one thing is giving up when things are not going your way, right? Whether it's in a game, whether it's during training, something happens, you get frustrated, you start getting in your head, so you give up. Maybe you give up completely, maybe you just drop your head, you drop the intensity, and yeah. The issue is letting that specific circumstance or situation drop your focus. Let that specific circumstance or situation drop your level, make you drop your head, and that obviously hinders everything that you're doing, everything that you worked for, right? I think it's a fairly common saying, but you cannot let a couple of seconds ruin your entire day. Well, when it comes to performance, you cannot let a little mistake ruin the entire game, ruin the entire performance. And I think that we tend to do this a lot. This is something I've already done before. Now, I think I deal with it a bit better than I used to, but it's still something I struggle with from time to time. But yeah, the first thing is letting little things ruin not only the performance itself, that probably consists of this much time compared to what's going wrong, but also this much compared to all the work you've put in to prepare for that, right? The second issue is not taking responsibility for what's going on when it's going on, right? So this kind of it's kind of a continuation of what I just previously mentioned, but rather than getting in your head and maybe feeling sorry for yourself and feeling like you do not have control over what's going wrong, taking responsibility, well, rather not taking responsibility even makes it worse, right? Telling yourself that it might be someone else's fault, or the world is against me, or the ref is cheating, or the player pushed me a bit too hard. Always looking at what's around rather than looking at what is within, what you could have done better. Yes, maybe someone pushed you a bit too hard, but maybe, the roots of that is the fact that you might not be strong enough. Even if you're being fouled, if you're strong enough, maybe you can make it through that foul without falling or without it hindering you from moving forward. I think that at least 95 to 90% of what happens to us stems from something that we are doing wrong or from something that we are not doing. So before putting external factors at the forefront, maybe it's time to review, how we go about things. So now we're going to get into the solutions, right? How do we deal with this? First thing is to understand that no matter whether you're losing, whether you're failing, as long as it's not over, right? Because now we are talking about in-game, mid-training session. As long as it's not over, do not adopt the mindset of it's over. You can still get something out of it. Even if you're not getting exactly what you wanted, you can still get something. And that something can be very valuable down the line. Now, for your training session, even if you missed the mark on a couple of things, let's say you wanted to hit 6 specific aspects of your game and you failed on one, you failed on the first one. Instead of letting that snowball on the other 5 and have you completely fail your session, accept the fact that you missed the mark on one, but still go for those 5. Instead of going 0 for 6, now you're 5 for 6. And that makes it easier for you to move forward. Because what happens is, after the training session, you're still going to go into that game. And maybe you will just have that one thing to fix during the game, rather than completely giving up and still having to face those other aspects of your game when you play and being exposed to a greater level, right? When you reduce the deficit in that sense, it makes it easier for you to fix. But when you completely drop the ball, now you're just exposed. So that's the number one thing. Now also in game, and now let's talk about results. Let's say you're losing a game 5-6-0, or you're running a track event and you are considerably behind, maybe you fell. Instead of just staying down, try and reduce the deficit. I don't know if maybe times can contribute to you progressing or not, or in a game of football, even if you're 6-0 down at the halftime, maybe you can reduce the score. Try and get 4 or 5 back. Even if you lose, guess what? Goal difference. That goal difference that you neglected at the end of the season could literally cost you everything. It could be the difference in between you going up or going down, winning your league or coming second, or missing out on an opportunity, or so always try and reduce the deficit. Even if you don't get everything, you can still get something. All right. So the last thing is to not blame yourself, but you look at yourself first before incorporating the external factors in the equation. Like I said, if most things that happen to you stem from you, you always have to look at yourself first before looking at the external. Because if you start with the external, you are now putting on yourself things that you can't even control. So now in the process of you trying to fix it, since you're fixated on the wrong things, you can't even fix it, right? So always look at yourself first. It's always, I wouldn't say it's easier, right? I think people blame the external because they don't want to put it on themselves. So in that sense, it might feel harder to do, but once you do it, you realize that it's actually easier that way, because these are things that you can actually control. These are things that you can actually fix. And then you can look at the external. Maybe you were cheated out of a goal, you were cheated out of a situation. That can happen, but that should always come after. There's always something that you can do better. So yeah, pretty much to sum this video up, it was really just to encourage you guys to look at yourself before you look at what's going on around you. Whether you're winning, whether you're failing, it all starts with you. And even in the craziest of circumstances, there's always something that you could have done better or that you can do better to reduce the deficit. Okay, hope this video helped, hope you learned from this, and yeah, catch you next time.